Hello, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers, author of The Perception Diet, and today we have part 2 of the Are You Sacrificing Self-Realization for Personal Growth? So if you haven't watched the last video, please go and do that first. I put the link down below. It's really important to kind of understand what we're talking about here. So in the last video, basically we talked about what the ego is, we talked about why it's important, we talked about what self-actualization really is, and we talked about the kind of phases of this growth that is going to take place to get you to self-actualization. So in this video, I want to start with this. If you're on a personal development path, the reason that you're on that path is because you want self-actualization, right? You want to be able to be yourself and to know that you are fully connected to love at all times. That is why you're doing what you're doing. And I promise you that that is why you're doing what you're doing. And maybe you don't know that that's why you're doing what you're doing, but you will probably discover it as you go along. That you want to fill that hole inside of yourself that says that you're not enough, that there's something wrong with you, and that there are things about you and things about the world that are not to be loved and not to be accepted, right? And that pain of that rejection and separation is what is driving you right now to do your personal development work, because you think that if you just improve this stuff about yourself, right? If you just get better, if you just become a better person, if you can just get rid of your triggers, if you can just discipline out of yourself all your negative behaviors, if you could just become this better, awesome version of yourself, that you will have permission to love you, and that you will feel that love that you want, you will feel that connection that you want. And this is really what drives all of us, is this belief that we are separate and that love can be absent from us and that there can be something wrong with us. And we're trying to get rid of that. We're trying to get over that. We're trying to improve ourselves or fix our reality so that we don't feel like that anymore. And if we understand where the consciousness level is at of someone who is self-realized, you understand that you are at this place now where you can wear your ego lightly. And what I mean by that is you can be yourself. You can have your experiences, you can experience your emotions, you can have the highs and the lows of life, and you can be in all of it. And none of it is going to separate you from love anymore. This is what it is. When you have that realization, that experience of your connection to all that is, and then you integrate that into who you are and your experience of this life, and you understand that they are not mutually exclusive experiences, that you can be inside yourself having your experience from your individual perspective, understanding that's expanding consciousness for all of us, with the awareness that you are fully connected to all of it, that love never went anywhere, right? This is when you're ready to be on the self-love path, which is the path that is basically the last and final step that takes you into self-realization, okay? Because without self-love, personal growth and personal development will stop you at a strong ego, all right? So, like I say in the last video, we go from this very weak ego, the part of you that experience of feeling like a victim to life, you can't take responsibility, you can't change your circumstances, you want all these things that you feel like you can't do. You get into personal development work, personal growth work, you start to take responsibility, you start to change your external environment, and then you start to go inward. You start to notice your triggers, you start to notice your woundings, right? You start to notice yourself acting out of your woundings, right? You notice yourself lashing out, you notice yourself rejecting people, you notice your criticisms, you notice these things about you, right? That we call the shadow. This is what this really is, right? You start to realize your shadow. You start to realize, oh, it's not all this external stuff that's the fault of why my life is shitty. It's kind of me, right? I've got these shadow things, and it's the way that I react and respond to people. It's the way that I react and respond to myself. I've got all these parts of myself inside of me that I hate and that I think are terrible and that I'm trying to get rid of through this self-development work. And you start to get to this place, right? Where you're just like, yeah, no, there's something wrong with me, and I'm trying to fix it. And personal growth worked for a while, and maybe it really got you to a place where you felt like you got it, you nailed it, right? You're there, you're flying, you're feeling great, you love who you are, you love yourself, right? You might even have gotten to that point. And then all of a sudden, your negative self-sabotaging behaviors come back, or they resurface again, or you get new ones, or you start to notice them on levels that you never noticed them before. And you're trying to apply your personal growth and personal development work to them, and it's not working, right? You're still watching yourself get triggered every single time your wife does something, right? And or every single time you have a certain experience, you react in the same way. You get angry, you explode, you freak out, you watch yourself act from fear over and over again, and you can't seem to get out of it. With all your personal development and all your personal growth work, it's not working. This is where you are ready to take the next step into self-love, okay? And like I said, understanding that you're at this place now where you're realizing what you actually want. You don't actually want material success. You don't actually want better sex. You don't actually want to improve your circumstances. It's not about changing your life. You're starting to realize that it's about changing your mindset. It's about changing how you feel. It's about changing how you're experiencing and responding to this life, right? And you're getting that. You're starting to see that there's a much deeper experience here that's going on, and a much deeper personal responsibility that needs to take place. And it's not the external circumstances that you actually want to change. You're starting to see that it's all inside, and that the external circumstances, to a degree, are going to be what they're going to be, right? You have some control, and you have some say, and absolutely you can take responsibility for your life and make choices. I'm not saying that that's not a thing. But that is coupled with the fact that life is going to be what it's going to be, right? And there are some things that you don't have control over, and some circumstances that are going to happen to you that are going to be painful, right? It doesn't matter how developed you get. Your best friend might still pass away. You might still lose people that you love. You might still lose your job. You might still end up, without what you think you need. You might have great plans to go traveling and end up having everything go wrong, right? The plane doesn't do what you want it to do, or everything's delayed, you lose your luggage, all of these things. There are always going to be the things in your life that you don't have control over that are going to trigger you. And so now you're starting to see in this phase that it's like, okay, my happiness is not going to come from me controlling my circumstances. Yes, I have some power. Yes, I have control, more than I thought I did before. I've developed these things in myself. I've seen myself in a new light, stronger, better, faster, fitter, whatever. But it's not good enough, right? And now I'm starting to take my personal growth work and my self-development tools, and I'm turning them in on my shadow, right? The parts of me that I don't like. And I'm trying to beat them out of myself. I'm trying to discipline them out of myself. I'm trying to bring my awareness to them and take responsibility for them so that I can change, right? I'm beating myself up. I'm aware. I'm aware that I yell at my wife every time, and this is coming from my wounding, and I'm mad at myself for that. But I'm going to change it. I'm going to hunker down, and I'm going to use my self-development tools, and I'm going to fix it, right? I'm going to grow. I'm going to become better. I'm going to become fitter. I'm going to become faster inside, right? This is what you're doing now. And I want you to start to notice how this isn't working, right? That the personal growth tools and the personal development tools that you have, now that you're in this place, are no longer effective. You're still doing the same behaviors over and over again. You're still getting triggered, and it's not healing. It's not working. You're not able to catch yourself. You're not actually able to watch the anger arise, and rather than acting on it, right? You're not able to not act on it. You're not able to be different in the moment. When you get triggered, that's it. You can become aware of it afterwards, right? You might even be aware of it while it's happening, but you can't stop yourself. You can't stop yourself doing your self-sabotaging behaviors, right? You think you understand them, you think you know why you're doing it, but you can't use your personal development work to get out of it. You can't stop yourself. This is when you're ready to move out of personal growth and personal development to self-love, okay? And basically all that this transition requires is that you start to look at those triggers. You look at yourself when you do your self-sabotaging behaviors. You look at yourself when you want to do your self-sabotaging behaviors. You look at yourself right after you've been triggered and exploded at your wife or exploded at your husband or whatever it is for you, right? The shadow that is inside of you. And you start to connect with the idea that this is a wounded part of yourself, right? This is a part of you that is hurting. This is not a broken part of yourself. This is not a part of yourself that needs improvement. You don't need to beat this out of yourself. This is not going to work. This is a part of your light. You're never going to get rid of it. It's a part of who you are. It's a part of your ego at this time, which is a part of the infinity like we talked about, right? You are a fractal of all that is, so you're not going to get rid of anything because it's infinity, right? But you're going to see that all of your shadow is simply parts of yourself that you have rejected, that you have not loved, that you have shoved and said, not good, not allowed. And now they are expressing as shadow, right? And what you want to do is to love these parts of yourself, to go to where that wounding is, and to bring loving awareness to that wounding. So if you've done your meditation work, right? And like I say, this is where the personal development work is important. Where you've done your meditation work, where you can separate yourself out from your thoughts, where you can separate yourself out from your emotions, right? Where you can sit in an emotion in a controlled environment, like in your meditation, right? And you can experience that emotion without acting on it. So you can feel your sadness, you can feel your anger, you can feel your whatever, without having to do anything about it. You can just witness it. You can be with that anger, you can be with that sadness, you can be with your crazy thoughts without moving, right? You can sit in stillness while you're experiencing this stuff. This is when you're ready for this next step. So now if you haven't practiced having emotion and not reacting, if you haven't practiced having thoughts and not reacting, go and do that, okay? That's the next step on your personal growth journey. You need to go through that phase where you can sit in your emotion, you can sit in your thoughts, and you can separate yourself from them, right? You can see that you can have an experience of it without having to react and respond, right? And when you start to get there, and you start to get to that place, right? You might, so like I say, then you're going to be in this place where you can sit with it in a controlled environment, you can do all this, but then you still want to fix it. You still want to change it, you still want to improve it, you still want to get rid of it, because it's something that's wrong with you. And you're going to say to me now, if I do what you're going to say, so what now is the next step? Is that you start to sit with that anger, that shame that you have around acting in your shadow, right? And you go to these shadowy places, the part of you that eats, right? So pretend that you've just binged, right? And this is maybe your self-sabotaging behavior, that you can't get yourself to stop eating. Rather than going and saying, okay, I'm aware that I did that, I'm taking responsibility for it, and I'm going to fix it and change it, so I'm going to plan my new diet because you've done this 100 million times. What you're going to do instead is you're going to take that and you're going to say, okay, I did this. I binged. It's true. I did it. And I'm probably going to do it again because I don't have control. I feel completely out of control here. If I'm really honest with myself, I don't have control over this. Because if I did, I wouldn't have done it. And I've done it so many times in the past, and I haven't actually discovered anything new that's going to stop me from doing it in the future. So I don't know what to do here. And you're going to sit with that. And then all of these uncomfortable emotions are going to come up. And you are going to bring that loving, compassionate awareness. The part of you that sees, the bigger part of you, you've had a connection to this, okay? That bigger part of you. And you're going to look at this part of you that binges as a small child that's in pain. And you, as your higher self, are going to come and hold this part of you. And you're going to love this part of you. And you're going to ask this part of you, why are you hurting? What do you need to feel safe? What do you need to feel loved? Me trying to discipline you, me trying to get rid of you, me trying to force you to be something that you're not, isn't working, right? And you're going to start to realize that all of your triggers, and every time you lash out, every time you binge, every time you do anything self-destructive to yourself or destructive to other people, it's coming from a wounding that's inside of yourself. And by trying to fix it and get rid of it and self-improve it out of yourself, you are actually making that wounding worse every single time. Because the wounding came from a rejection. Okay? The wounding came from a rejection. And every time you try and fix it, you reject it again. So you just continue this cycle over and over and over again. Every single time you try and fix yourself in a wounding, you create a new, deeper wound. That's all that happens. All right? So by stepping back and looking at it like it's a little child inside of you, right? And you hold that and you say, I binged. Okay, part of me that wants to binge. I love you. I accept you. I see you. I'm holding you. I'm going to be with all the uncomfortable emotions. I'm going to watch this all rise up, and I'm not going to try and fix myself. I'm not going to beat myself up for it. I'm not going to tell myself how bad I am that I did this. I'm going to say, this is a part of me that's hurting. Now, what do I need to feel safe? And what do I need to feel loved? And you do that over and over and over again, this will take you where you want to go. This is what's going to set you free. Loving all of your shadowed bits back into the light is self-realization. Okay, because a whole bunch of other things are going to happen to you on this process. You're going to feel the oneness. You're going to experience, you're going to have these outside of your ego experiences in the place where you're strong enough to do that. You're going to have all of these other amazing experiences. This is a new part of your journey. Okay? And you're going to tell me, but if I love and accept this shitty part of me, I'm never going to get out of it. But what I'm going to say to you is, if you don't love and accept these shitty parts of yourself, you're always going to behave in that shitty way. Okay? The only way to get to where you can live as your highest self, the you that you know that you are, is to love and accept these parts of yourself. You need to let go of the self-improvement. It got you this far, it was an awesome tool, but now it's time to let it go and be with yourself, with that unconditional loving presence. It's time to develop unconditional loving presence. And this is your next phase. And this is what's going to take you to the next level. And this is what's going to take you to where you want to be, which is you've loved all the parts of yourself, so there's no more parts inside of you that feel disconnected from love, and therefore fear is not a thing anymore. And then you don't have to act out your wounds, and you don't have to act out your triggers because they're not there. And then all of those parts of yourself that were wounded and rejected are reintegrated back into who you are, and you're going to realize they are new parts of your strength and your personality and your awesomeness that you never realized before. Right? That super critical part of you becomes the discerning part of you. The super shy, introverted, can't have a conversation with anyone becomes the intuitive, sensitive, aware part of you. Okay? All of this magic starts to happen, but you gotta transcend self-improvement for self-love. All right? And self-actualization is on the other side. And that's what you want. And that's where you're headed, where you can be the all, having the experience of the one, and expanding consciousness for all of us. And then you can have your mountaintop experiences and your super low experiences and all of this stuff, and it's all good. Life stops being so painful because you realize it. All right? So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I'd love to hear from you. Like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. Find me on Facebook, Perception Trainers, Instagram, Ali_Perception Trainers. I do have a Snapchat, Ali_PTS. I don't know if I have posted on there by now, whatever. But you can follow me so that I find you. Find me on Patreon. We meet 3 times a month. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Mwah.